Hi guys, I've been fettling my brakes up just recently and I've come across my front brake pipes that are perished. As you can see, they look a bit dangerous, so I better fix them. They're actually quite bad, these. The front flexible brake pads have been on since the car was new. They're still actually the original equipment. The problem is it's not just the brake pipes, it's all the fittings that they go into, especially the calipers. As you can see, it's pretty rusted here. Well past its sell-by date. Will I even be able to get them off and save the calipers? Well, I'll have a go. First, douse them in penetrating fluid. And then give them a tap with a hammer just to loosen everything off. Right, I'll try and take them off with this 1/4 inch wrench. Anything bigger, I'll just fear that it'll just break off. Here goes. That doesn't seem to be going anywhere. I think I'm going to have to douse them again and leave it overnight. Come back to it tomorrow. Right, I've given them a good dousing and a good banging. Here goes a second attempt. Yes, got it. Broke it loose. Can't be bad. I must be doing something right. Either that or it was Uncle Bob in the middle of the night. That's nice and loose now. Just the other side to do. Same again here. Yes. Oh, that was easier. Just got the other end now where the brake pipe joins up in the wheel arch. Same thing, put a bit of penetrating fluid on, leave it a bit. These don't look too bad actually. I'm quite hopeful with these. In fact, I think I'll just have a go right now with these. Yeah, got that off. No problem. On the other side. Get my spanner on. Sometimes it's not easy, but you need an open-ended spanner, of course. And I'm using a brake pipe spanner as it wraps around the nut better, improving its purchase. That's alright now. It's not bending the pipe or anything. It's free. They'll come off nice and easy now. Just got the brackets to do, and then I'll fit the new ones. Well, I'll clean it all up on the caliper as well. Onto the hub bracket now. It's pretty rusty, so I'll have to clean this up. Wire brush first, then I'll do some small taps with a hammer to loosen all the rust so I can take the clip off. Finish off with some penetrating fluid. Then you want to get a large flat bladed screwdriver and then prise the clip up. You just try to prise it up against the shoulder of the fitting that goes on the pipe, either sideways like this, or you can do it front ways if it's wide enough. Once you get it to a certain height, you can actually put it into the clip to then prise it up if you need to. I didn't in this case. It just sprung off. Here's the clip. I'll clean that up and reuse it. Clean this up again and then bang the fitting and the bracket thing so it'll loosen it all off. That should be loose enough now. Yeah, that's it. I better get it out now. You can see my bracket's actually got a hole in at the bottom, so it's a bit weak. So it's a little bit compromised, but I think it'll do. I might have to buy another bracket at some stage. Here's the new pipe with the banjo at the end. You can see a little hole in the fitting where the brake fluid comes out into the banjo bolt, and the protrusion at the end locates it so it doesn't move around. Further up the pipe is this movable collet that fits onto the hub bracket, and there's a couple of rubber donut protectors, and at the far end is the fitting that goes onto the brake pipe. I'm just going to put a rag in to the end of the banjo just to stop all the brake fluid coming out when I attach it. Nothing should actually come out because of the air in the pipe, but I guess it will eventually seep out, so I just want to stop that as much as I can while I attach the whole thing to the caliper. Oh, and it's always worth checking the length of the pipe is the same as the one on the car before you fit it, which mine is. So I'll take it off at the brake pipe end first and attach it there. Undo the fitting and pull the pipe out, taking the spring off. The old pipe will just slide out. You might want to clean the bracket up before you fit the new one. The new pipe fitting has got a flat on it, so you have to turn it round to fit into the bracket. Put the spring back on the brake pipe end and gently marry it up to the new pipe fitting. And when you tighten it up, be careful you get the threads right. It's most important to let it seat in properly before you tighten it up. Not easy because it's a bit tight and springy, but it's imperative you do that, otherwise you'll thread something. So take your time over this and get it right first time. This brake nipple spanner is not really cutting it. I'm just going to change it and use an ordinary flat ended spanner like this one. That should be better. Ah yes, much more controllable. That's going in nicely. As you can see, it does take a while until you get to the final tightening bit. Make sure it's nice and tight without over tightening it. All you're aiming to do is to stop it leaking and no more. I can take the old banjo off now. And if we look where it fits onto the caliper, we can see it's quite corroded, except importantly where the washer's sat. Now most mechanics have just replaced the caliper when they see this, but I'm actually going to attempt to clean this up and see if that'll work, because I do have a trick up my sleeve regarding the crush washers. So I'm taking this into the garage. Now I'm going to try and clean this up with a fine file all the corrosion off, keeping it all nice and flat as much as possible. But importantly, I don't want any debris to go into the cylinder, so I need to block that off a little bit. I can't use the banjo bolt as that's got a hole in as well, and I don't want to damage it. So what I've found is another bolt, exactly the same threads. So I'll thread that one in. That's expendable, and that should stop any debris going into it, into the caliper. So that's what I've done. Here is the finished result. It's only sort of average, not too bad. Pretty flat though. But to safeguard any future leaks, I've got these new crush washers. Here they are. They've got an internal rubber seal, so they should, in theory, stop any leaks. I'll give it a go anyway. Now I will state that I've never used these before, so this is a first trial and see. But I'm pretty hopeful they'll be pretty good. If not, I'll have to replace them with original copper washers. My only concern is that they're a little bit thick compared with copper washers. So I hope there'll be enough thread to give a good purchase. Not a great deal of thread. but then the rubber seals have to compress. Well, they're tightening up quite tight. Feel alright to me. What do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments. So I better clean down the banjo end so I can tell whether it's going to be leaking or not. Thoroughly clean and dry that. Right, I'll fit the hub collet now. The collet's got a flat on also, so it'll only go in one way. And then push the clip down into the slot nice and firmly, knocking it in with a hammer. Although I think to drive it home I need to support it under the bottom a little bit. As I said, the bracket's quite weak. I think that'll do. And there we have it. Brake pipe installed. Now there is of course air in the pipe, so we've got to get rid of that. So you can either do it the manual way, or I'm using a pressure bleeder. Attach my tank onto the reservoir. Add a bit of pressure, but not too much. Put a pipe on my nipple, and with these devices you just need to loosen off the nipple and remove the air. Let a certain amount of fluid go by. And then tighten it up again. Job done. And of course it's exactly the same on the other side. The hook bracket was stronger on this side, a bit more solid, so the clip went on a lot easier. Just had to tighten the caliper up. Take my rag out of the banjo and then fit it on the caliper. But on this side it's a little bit more tricky, it's a bit lower down. I'm sure the other side was easier. Anyway, you've got to make sure that's nice and tight. And then clean up all the excess brake fluid that's about, which is quite a bit on this one. I will clean it up later, but I'll just bleed them now to get all the air out. Now I want to run it through quite a bit. And then tighten the nipple, but don't over tighten it. I've actually got stainless steel nipples on this, which work very well. And don't forget the little rubber cap. And the job's done. Just take my power bleeder off, refit the cap. Oh, I should have taken some fluid out there, it's a little bit high. Never mind, I'll get Bob to do that later. So this is the finished result. Everything's connected. Joins up to the brake pipe up here with a little spring on it. It's nicely seated into a bracket on the inner wheel arch, and it travels down and it's got these little rubber things, protectors, onto the bracket where the hub is. The collet just slots in next to a flat with a sprung push clip that sits into a slot on the collet. You should be able to freely move the rubber pipe within it. And finally the banjo union onto the brake caliper with me 2 fancy washers. And importantly, no leaks. So there it is guys, hope this helped you out, and as you've seen in the video, it's not too difficult to be able to tackle this job on your own. Right, I'll put the rest of the car back together now. Now the trouble is with working with cars on your driveway, you've got to crawl underneath them. And this is where my Auntie Mildred's old rug comes into its own. A real godsend when you put the under tray back on. Stick my wheels back on. And finally, the engine cover. And we're done. I seem to just have a front ball joint that I need to replace before I get it on the road. Thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. I really appreciate that. Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.